Once again, I am joined by an 18th District congressional candidate. This time it's Democrat Adam Lopez. Thank you very much for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, for people who don't know, you have a diverse work background, at least since college. You worked at for a donut company, Country Financial, and you work in Springfield schools, and you're a school board member.
That's correct.
So tell me a little bit about how kind of all that has shaped who you are and where you are at today.
Yes, I'm 32 years old. I graduated from University of Illinois Springfield with my master's degree in public administration, and I was like every other graduate, couldn't find a job. And I called some old basketball coaches up that when I played basketball in high school, they said, hey, apply at District 186. So I became a special ed attendant in District 186 at Douglas Alternative School, and that wasn't enough to pay the bills. So I went and got a job making donuts at Mellow Cream Donuts. So my job, or I guess the days, went from about 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock at District 186 as a special ed attendant, then went to make donuts from about 3:45 to midnight. I did that for a full year. So I was working nonstop, and during that year, thought about going, what I want my career path to go, and that's when I joined Country Financial, and I'm here today. So I've started from a graduate kid that couldn't find a job to now I run my own business with Country Financial here in Springfield.
So now you're running for Congress. Give us the elevator pitch about where you're the man to represent the 18th District in Washington.
Yes, I'm going to bring responsible leadership back to the 18th District. I've put out 3 ideas that we're going to focus on when I'm elected to Congress, and that is infrastructure with creating jobs, also the Affordable Care Act. It was a great week last week with the Affordable Care Act. And the third thing also is immigration reform. I'm a grandson of a Mexican immigrant, and we have to work on the immigration process, and I've talked to voters out in the 18th District about my ideas and how I want to help the 18th District out. Also, they have other issues. Voters have different issues. You have different issues here in Peoria than I have in Springfield, so I have to reach out to everybody and focus on their issues, but responsible leadership back to the 18th District.
Well, you mentioned the Affordable Care Act. Obviously, recently the Supreme Court upheld the subsidies that are part of the Affordable Care Act. So maybe you can expand a little bit more, because it's obviously a very contentious political topic, regardless of the way that the Supreme Court has ruled on the issue in the past. Do you see ways to improve upon the Affordable Care Act? Because it seems like on one side the Democrats seem kind of complacent with it in Washington, because it seemed kind of like a wait-and-see approach. Let's see what the Supreme Court does, and now Democrats are not in power. Republicans continue to attempt efforts to repeal it, but it's unlikely with the Democratic president.
We all need work together. I mean, the Affordable Care Act is changing lives every day. And inside the insurance business here, when I'm at Country Financial, I'm signing clients up that are getting Affordable Care Act, and everybody should have the approach that they can get affordable health insurance. That should be the American dream, that we can get everybody health insurance. I think we have to give it time to work. Everybody wants to happen overnight. It's not going to work overnight. Give it time. It will work, but it needs some tweaks. Everything will need to work out. I mean, nothing is perfect. So when we go to Congress, we have to work together of how we can get better, and we also need to look at the state of having their own program. I think that's Senator Durbin talked about that a week ago about how we need to look. Governor Rauner needs to maybe look at that, get a state-run plan here. So it's something we have to look forward to.
Kind of sticking with the theme of the Supreme Court, another major ruling recently was that of gay marriage. Where do you stand on that issue?
I support same-sex marriage, and the Supreme Court is with me on that, so I am a strong supporter of same-sex marriage.
All right, well, let's move on. You mentioned education in your background, something that you've worked in the educational field. It's a topic that maybe doesn't get as much attention as it could, given that it really is the foundation for everything going forward. How has your work in the schools shaped your view of education, and maybe what needs to be done in the field of education to improve schools in not just Illinois but across the country?
Yeah, we really have to work together. Springfield School Board, I've had a great time in there, turned the district around. Right now what we face here in the state of Illinois is the money issue. A lot of school districts have been making drastic cuts. Peoria, I know the Peoria areas had made major cuts. Springfield, when I came on the Springfield School Board in 2013, had to make about $15 million cuts, and that's a huge problem. That starts at the state level. I know federal government has some say, but not, it's more of a state issue, but we have to work. There's a lot of poverty going on in the 18th District. We face that in Springfield, so we have to help with the families I'll give you an example. A good example. There is over 500 homeless kids in District 186. We have over 15,000 kids, and we have over 500 of those kids do not know where they're going to go when they leave school. So how can we educate those kids when they have no place to go at home? So we're working on programs to help those kids out. There's also grants to the federal government. It's called the SIG grant. Lanphier High School actually had that in Springfield, and it's actually helped improve grades. Attendance has gone up. We have kids stay longer at school, which the kids like that, and it's helped kids go to college. So we need to work on those grants and providing more of those grants to these districts that can help us out. And of course, Lanphier High School, which is in my sub-district in Springfield, has really helped out. And I'd like to see more of that at the federal level of helping local school districts out.
All right, I'm going to kind of bounce around with issues, of course, because we're limited to only so many minutes to talk.
Right.
But one of the other issues that's come up with some of the Republican candidates has been the issue of gun rights, the Second Amendment. Illinois, obviously, is a state that is somewhat unique in terms of its stricter gun laws. Where do you stand on the Second Amendment?
I believe in the Second Amendment. Tell you the truth about myself, I don't own a gun. I've never shot a gun. But I believe in the Second Amendment, and we have to, again, you're going to hear a lot of me working together, because I think the problem we face now and what is facing in D.C. is you're on this side or this side. We all have to come to the middle, and I'm looking forward to working together how we can help out. Gun owners, I understand. 90% of gun owners are responsible. Now, there's a few that aren't, and we run into some problems. But majority of gun owners are responsible, and we need to go forward and work together how we can help out with gun laws and guns not getting into criminals' hands.
Is it too easy for some of the most dangerous people in the country to get their hands on guns?
No, I think the problem we have now, you could probably get a hold of a gun, and that's not responsible gun owners' fault. If you hear about a lot of the guns found or used on crimes, they're stolen. We had an issue in Sangamon County recently. A gun actually got through the court security. Now, the numbers were crossed off, so it could be a stolen gun. So these aren't gun owners giving guns to criminals. I think these are a lot of stolen guns, and we have to find out a way how we can stop these guns landing into criminals' hands.
One of the issues that is discussed on your website, you've mentioned it already since we sat down, immigration, obviously another contentious topic of debate in Washington. It seemed like we almost saw some progress on it in the last couple of years with a bipartisan commission in the Senate working on it. Obviously, it's a very broad topic, but we talk about border security. Visas are in that discussion, and what to do with people who are crossing the border illegally from Mexico or other countries and coming into the United States. So it's a broad topic, I know, but do your best to kind of give us the boilerplate.
Well, this hits me hard because my grandmother came from Mexico to the United States to make her family a better place for her, or for her family. And of course, I'm here today living the American dream. And I've talked to the voters out there that if my grandma did not come to the United States, I would not be here before you. So I want to help out immigration reform. Now, the problem we have is the process. The process takes too long. It should not take over a decade to become a citizen of this great country. We have to streamline that process so we can help out people to become a citizen, get legal status, then become a citizen, and also strengthen the borders. You mentioned that's a huge problem, illegal immigration. What we have to start is documenting these individuals, start the process with these individuals. So if they have done their job, they're working, they have been upstanding citizens, you and I, upstanding citizens, we should let them start the process. Now, we could have 15 million undocumented immigrants. But we start the process on those undocumented immigrants, so we put them documented, they start paying taxes. That money starts coming back into the United States. So we have to work on that. Also, Border Patrol, big issue. And we're not talking about Mexico, we're going to talk about the harbors, we're going to talk about Canada, all the borders. We have to strengthen all our borders because that's the big issue. And I know people focus on Mexico, but we have more borders than just Mexico. But we have to do adequate staffing of all the borders here in the country to guard ourselves and stop the illegal immigration.
All right, if somebody wants to find out a little bit more information about you and your congressional run, where can they find that?
Adam Lopez for Congress, and also follow us on Facebook, Adam Lopez for Congress.
All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and best of luck to you.
Hey, thanks a lot.